Did you struggle at that age, 16 to 24? So if we look back at the evolution that led to where you are now, your upbringing, grew up in New Zealand. What was life like as a young kid?
Huge thing that happened to me as a kid was my father dying when I was 5, suddenly, and my mother being 39 and having a 13-year-old, 10-year-old, myself 5 and my sister 3. So my mother was one of 7 children, and we were surrounded by family to help us get through the trauma and grief of that. But that definitely had a big impact on me, and I think it still does, to be honest, missing my dad. I think when I became a teenager, I didn't have a good sense of my social self either. My dad was an only child. He was part Māori, part English. Didn't feel connected to either of those. His mother, my grandmother, lived in Auckland, which is 1,000 miles away from where we lived. Didn't see her enough, really. So when I was 12, I wrote that letter to Ngāi Tahu, the Māori tribe, and I just asked them, this is my dad, Harry Eastwood, this is my grandmother, Rose Eastwood, and that's all I know, really. My grandmother says I'm in your tribe, but do you know who I am? And they wrote this amazing letter, which actually transformed my life in many ways, which was, we know who you are and you belong here, and gave me this whakapapa, this of 1,000 years of my ancestors. They taught me what that concept was, the idea that each of us, whether it's your family or any community you belong to, a team, a business, any group of people, that you're only one person in a line of people with their arms interlocked, going all the way back to whatever the origin story is, and into the future, to the end of time. And the metaphor being the sun first shone on that first ancestors and just slowly moves down this line of people and reveals each of us in turn. And they explained in a very emotionally satisfying way that you and your father's arms are interlocked. And that will always be the case, even though the sun's moved off him, it's on you now, and then in time your children and grandchildren. So all these ideas were absolutely incredible, and they are the backbone of my coaching practice now. And they're not indigenous ideas of one place, they're universal ideas across the species. I'm very convinced of that from all the feedback I've had.